This is your Daily 5 for Thursday, January 8th, 2026. I'm going to link over to a video on a channel run by an individual named Yang Ye, which I would encourage you to watch and then come back to this 5. Because I don't want to explain all the details behind what's going on with this video game studio and what happened. Otherwise, this will take up the whole time, me just explaining it. So go watch that video I linked and then come back here for the rest. So if you've watched that, there was a bunch of drama around a video game studio using generative AI in an upcoming game, people figuring it out, there being a bunch of denials and outright lies about it being used from the studio and the publisher, and finally they both had to admit that it was used, at which point the studio shut down and the publisher basically claimed that they knew nothing about it, and now the game has been delisted and probably, I don't think any version of it will exist now. And the thing that in watching this, I started thinking about, what started occurring to me was, okay, wait a minute. Because there's lots of people who are AI proponents when it comes to generative AI and using AI for art, and make an argument that there's nothing wrong with it and that people shouldn't be upset about it, that it's just the way that it's going to be, and that it will be just as good as human art, so who cares? And I think everybody knows my stance on that, but the thing I was thinking about when it comes to this story, because this is not a unique story, these stories keep popping up where people are reacting negatively to this stuff. And the thing that makes me wonder about is, if in fact these people who are using these tools so confidently believe that they're in fact something people shouldn't be upset about, that they are the future, that they are every bit as good as human-made art, and that nobody should really care if you're using it, which is an argument I also hear, then why deny this stuff? If you are so sure that this is the future, why lie about it? Why try to deflect attention? Why try to make people think you're not using it when, of course, they're going to figure out that you are, which is exactly what happened in this case. But again, if you're so sure of what you're doing and that it's right, why reverse course? That would seem to indicate that there is a fear that a large portion of the consumer base, the customers that would keep these businesses going on, will not spend money on these types of products. And if that's true, then that should tell you something, that there is actually, to me, it's encouraging, that there is value for human-made art, that these people do recognize the artistic input of individuals into a game's existence, and other forms of art, of course. Because if not, if they didn't care, if they truly thought, as many of the people at the top of these companies that have to make money from this stuff and keep saying, oh, no, this is just the way it's going to be. You'll get used to it. Don't worry about it. It's the future. If they so believe that, then they would not try to lie about it. They would not say, oh, no, you're mistaking it. It's human art. It just kind of looks like AI art, which is what happened in some of this stuff. They wouldn't do that. They would say, yeah, it's AI art, and look how good it is. What are you talking about? Buy the game. We're not going to reverse course, because this studio is saying, or said, I don't know if they're still trying to do it, that they were going to replace all the AI art with human-made art. Well, why? Why? If this stuff is as good as you say it is, if it's something that nobody should really be offended by if it's present in the artwork they're paying for, then why are you replacing it? Why attempt to duck the responsibility? Why deny that you knew that it was AI art and that you weren't using it, that it was just, for research or whatever? Why do any of that? If you in fact believe that what you're doing is right, you don't start lying about it. You say, yeah, this is what I'm doing. So if these companies felt that people would not be upset by the presence of these materials and would pay for them, none of this would happen. They wouldn't back away from it. They wouldn't try to make you think that you were in the wrong for believing that. They would in fact say, yes, that's what it is. These are the tools we use. And when the game comes out and you buy it, you'll see how right we were about how good it is. But they're not doing that. And that has to be in recognition of the fact that there is a large portion. Because again, if it was 10 people out of 1 million people buying your game, do you really think they would care? No, of course they wouldn't. They only care about a large proportion of their user base being threatened because, of course, there's their revenue stream. So if this was a minority of people, they wouldn't care. If they believed in it, they wouldn't care. If they really thought it was the future and that was going to be it, they wouldn't care. So all of this has to mean that there is a fear that people don't want this stuff. Not just some people, but a lot of people. So when these stories come up, ask yourself, why are these companies saying these things? What is it exactly that they're afraid of? I think maybe you already know. Later.